go ahead and get started. Thanks everyone for joining us. My name is Amy Chinlai. I am the Engineering Partnerships Manager at Action Network. We're very lucky today to have the folks from CallHub joining us to teach us more about their new FastClick dialer and the integration with Action Network. So I'll go ahead and hand it over to Badari and stop sharing my screen so we can learn more about this awesome tool.
Hey everyone, thanks a lot for joining in. I appreciate your time. So thanks Amy for that introduction. And my name is Badari and I hit sales at CallHub. So let me just go ahead and quickly share my screen and I'll tell you what we have here. Are you able to see my screen? Yeah, great. Awesome. So we are going to talk about how CallHub can work with Action Network, especially with the new TCPA compliant, the FastClick dialer that we have. If you guys have any questions, feel free to just drop it in the chat room and we'll be able to pick it up later on and answer them for you. Okay. So just a quick introduction. CallHub is a cloud-based unified communications platform. Mainly we deal with calling and texting communications. So organizations and campaigns can reach out to their audience through calling and texting tools. So we've been in the industry for more than 6 years. We have over 2,000 customers across the globe. We're present in 6 continents. That's our traction. We have multiple products, right? So one, we have call center where agents, meaning volunteers, can make phone calls to the target audience and have one-on-one conversations. Next, we have peer-to-peer texting. Agents or volunteers can manually send out a text message to the target audience and have one-on-one conversation over a text message rather than a phone call. Then we have voice broadcasting. Usually this is also called as robocalling. So you can have a recorded voice message broadcasted to a group of contacts where they answer the call and listen to your voice message. Then we have broadcast texting, where you have a templated text just broadcasted to a group of people in one shot. Then we have SMS Opt-In, where you just publish a keyword and a phone number and have people text that keyword to that particular number to opt themselves in to show their support to your campaign. So we are going to individually talk about these products and what they actually do, what their capabilities are. So when it comes to call center, basically volunteers are having one-on-one conversation with the activists or the supporters. And this system is also backed up with automated dialers like auto dialer and predictive dialer, where your volunteers are not wasting time on rings or listening to voicemails, etc. They're only talking to people who answer the call on the other end. So that saves a lot of time, increases the productivity of volunteers. They're only talking to people who answer the call on the other end. So that's where the dialers. We also have pass-through calling, especially for the advocacy use cases where your volunteers are having a conversation and then they actually patch the calls through to the legislator, the lawmaker, to continue the conversation. So that's also involved with the call center. Then we have peer-to-peer texting. Here's where your volunteers are actually texting out a templated text message, but manually sending them out to each and every single contact in your phone book and wait for people to respond and then have a one-on-one conversation over a text message. So this conversation can be with your activists, supporters, talking them about the cause that you're working on and what action they need to take. If you actually want to send out a quick web link, where they can click and take some actions, you could also send out a link through the text message. So that's peer-to-peer. Then we have voice broadcasting. As I said, this is also called as robocalling. So here you have a recorded voice message broadcasted to the group of contacts. And once they answer the call, they listen to the message and they can take action by pressing 1, 2, 3, where you can record their opinions in terms of any bills that's been passed. If they are for it or against it, you can ask them to press 1, 2, 3, record the responses. And automatically, if they press any of these options, you can connect them through to their legislator directly, especially when they belong to multiple postcodes and you have to connect them to different legislator depending on the postcode they belong to. They can just choose the right options and automatically their call will be connected to the right legislator to continue the conversation or just leave a voice message. Then we have SMS broadcast. So here you have a templated text message which can also be personalized using the merge tags. So similar to how you do mass emailing, where the name and all of that gets automatically dynamically replaced depending on the contact information. So the text messages go out to all of these group of contacts. You can manually respond to the text messages once you receive the responses, or you can set up auto responses as well. Now, let's say, for example, you have a text message sent out, and at the end, you probably say reply yes or no. So you kind of know that most of the people are going to respond to you either yes or no. So you can set up autoresponders for these keywords, and our system automatically, when it recognizes those keywords, the follow-up message is sent out to them without any human intervention. Okay. Then we have SMS opt-in. So here is where you just publish a keyword and a phone number and gather supporters to your campaign. So let's say, for example, you have a keyword action, and you publish the keyword on your website, on your social media pages, and you say text action to 33339. And once people start texting that keyword, automatically you can set up a campaign in such a way that it collects the first name, the last name, the address, all of that information automatically to through the back and forth conversation over the text message, and that automatically is building a phone book of contacts for you, of your supporters whom you can reach out to later on through any other means of communication that we just spoke about earlier. Okay, so this is with the automated system that we have, but lately we have a lot of these regulations that is happening around TCPA, and the regulations are getting changed very frequently. And to get around to it, just to give you what the regulations are, especially political and non-profits cannot use automated dialers without a consent from the other party, for you to reach out to them through calling or texting through automated systems, right? So you cannot really call their cell phones without prior consent. You're not allowed to call emergency or toll-free numbers without the prior consent, but you are allowed to call landline numbers through the automated dialing systems. So this is the regulations that we have currently. Now, for us to get around to it, we have developed a system called TCPA compliant dialer, which is also called as FastClick dialer. So let me just show that to you. So here is the dashboard that we have. Just to give you a brief what exactly it does. Uh, So this actually works like a regular predictive dialer in terms of the speed, but there is a human intervention for us to initiate those calls. So you can actually make super fast calls using the TCPA compliant dialer. And you can control the pace of calling, meaning you can set the dial rate in terms of how many calls can be made to for each of the agents. Like, let's say, for example, call 3 numbers at the same time for an agent, and whoever answers the call gets connected to the talker agent, right? So you control the pace of the calling. And we have automated answering machine detection. So automatically when our system detects it's an answering machine, automatically that call be dropped, and only the human answers are connected to the agents. And then we have live campaign adjustments. So while the campaign is happening, if you actually see you gotta probably increase or decrease the dial rate, or the abandon rate is going very, very high and you probably want to decrease it, you could do it in the middle of the campaign and make sure your campaign is successful. And it's under the regulations. And we have personalized calling script. What this means is it's not a standard script. Automatically you have the dynamic fields within the script which automatically changes depending on the contact information. So if I'm talking to Amy, it says hey Amy, and continues with the script. And any fields that you bring in from Action Network to CallHub can be used as the dynamic field within the script to personalize the conversation. So the agents who are having a conversation need not have to look for information elsewhere. It's automatically popping up within the script for them to personalize the conversation. And we get detailed contact information, and you choose to control the amount of information that you want to show to your agents. So all the information that you're bringing in from Action Network to CallHub of your contacts can be displayed to your volunteers when they're having a conversation. And pretty simple and friendly UI, which you're going to see it right now. So here's the dashboard. So this is the manual account that we are talking about. which does not have any automated systems, automated dialers, or automated way of sending texts or calls, totally TCPA compliant. So we have two pieces in here, two different tools. One is peer-to-peer texting, which we spoke about earlier, where you can send manual text messages to people, wait for them to respond, and then have a conversation over a text message. Totally compliant, manual, and you're really having a personalized conversation over a text message. Then we have the call center piece, which is the actual TCPA compliant dialer. So just before we move to that, let me just show you how we integrate with Action Network. So we just go to integrations tab. These are some of the integrations that we have. Moving to Action Network, all I need to do is just hit on connect and enter the API key. Let me just copy and paste that quickly here. And the group, pretty sure you guys have this information. So all you need to do is just enter them to connect both the systems together. And once it's connected, you're basically mapping the fields. So in your Action Network account, however, you have named these fields, especially the landline numbers and the cell phone numbers, you just have to enter that over here. So our system can recognize which fields are those and use them in the campaign accordingly. And if you want to map any other fields, custom fields, you can do that over here. And all you have to do is just hit on save changes.
One thing I want to point out real quick, sorry, Badari, on this page,
Yep.
is that you can't use our core fields for this. So if you use our core fields for mobile number, then you should use a custom field for this integration specifically. And if you're interested in how to get those custom fields to match over, just let me know and we can chat more about that. But just flagging that you should use custom fields and not core fields to get this to work.
Perfect. Thanks, Amy. So you can import reports, tags, and events, and you can just go over here and see which are the reports that you want to import and automatically import that. As soon as you hit on import, automatically all of this information will be imported into CallHub and the phone book is created. So let me just go to the dashboard right now. And now we have integrated with Action Network. And this is a demo account that I have. So I just hit on create a campaign. And once I hit on create a campaign, as you can see here, we have 4 simple steps for us to set up this campaign and go live. Now I can just say Action Network webinar training and name the campaign. And I can just go to campaign brief and I can put in a script over here. Now I'm using a dynamic field, as you guys can see here, which is first name, which automatically changes depending on the contact information. And I can use any of these fields within the script, which automatically dynamically changes. So your agents can have personalized conversation. I hit on save text and I can create surveys right within CallHub, or I can also bring in RSVPs from the Action Network. So I can just go over, select any of this and add questions directly, which you have in Action Network into CallHub. Okay. So this is how it is. And automatically the responses will flow back into Action Network as a tag. So you choose, if your volunteers based on the conversation choose yes, no, undecided, you choose the tag that has to flow back, and these tags are flowing back into Action Network in real time as soon as they save the contact information. You can also choose to create multi-choice questions, text response questions, supporter levels, etc. And then you just turn on the call disposition. Call disposition is how your agents are going to dispose the calls. These are some of the default dispositions that are available already within the system. You can pick and choose whatever makes sense to you. So let's say other originate or cancel doesn't make sense. You can just uncheck them. You can obviously create your own custom dispositions, and you can choose which of those custom dispositions make sense to each of the campaigns that you're going to run. And in case you want to retry and put these contacts back into the queue, you can just choose which of these dispositions have to be retried, right? So you can choose, say, if it's a no answer, or it's a user busy, or you hit a machine, automatically those contacts will be put back into the queue, right? And because we told the system that it has to retry some of these dispositions, we can also tell the system how many times it has to retry. and what's the time interval between the retries. So it's going to continue retrying those contacts which have been added under those dispositions that we just selected earlier for the retries until the disposition is changed to something else. You can also choose to send text messages. So while having a conversation, volunteer, depending on the conversation, they can send out a text message. So let's say, support, you can say you can support us from here, and you can quickly send out a link. Similarly, you can create n number of text templates, which saves a lot of time. So when, let's say I'm a volunteer, I'm having a conversation, I just need to choose from the canned responses what I need to send, just click and hit send, and automatically the texts are delivered to the contacts, right? So we just hit next. And here is where we select the phone book that we have imported from Action Network. And in case you don't want to call cell phones, you just want to use FastClick platform just to speed up and dial just the landlines. You can still block the cell phone numbers. You can choose not to call the litigators. And if you don't want to call people in the DNC registry, you could choose to do that as well. This is totally free of cost, and automatically our system will not call any of these options that you check over here. Okay. So in caller ID, we have a couple of options. So in case you don't choose to send text messages, you can automatically use your organization's phone number as a caller ID. Or because we turn on the text messages, you need to rent a number from our end. So I've already rented a phone number, but you can rent a phone number of any area code of your choice. Okay, so I'll just use one of the numbers that I've rented already. We have also dynamic caller ID. So in case you're connecting with people who belong to multiple states, our system can automatically rent the phone numbers for each of those states and separate the list and dial from those phone numbers. So you have higher chances of people answering the call. So then we have pass-through calling. Pass-through calling is where your volunteers are having a conversation and then patching the calls through to the third party, right? So it may be a legislator, senator, etc. Agents, we have option to choose. Agents can manually dial the number, or you can just pre-upload a list of phone numbers that they can choose from a drop-down list and just dial the number. And you can allow agents to drop off and make the next call. So they just continue the conversation on the other end. So we have two types of dialers here. One is manual dialer and one is FastClick dialer. Manual dialer is where I just call person A, finish a conversation, take my own time, put in my notes, and then hit next and go to person B. And person B, the call rings, I might hit a voicemail, it's a disconnected number. So I just go one contact after the other, and that's the manual dialer that we have. Then we have the FastClick platform where you set up the maximum dial rate and the maximum abandon rate. Maximum dial rate is, let's say that you have 5 agents who are dialing in a campaign and you set the dial rate to 5. That means to say, our system can make 25 calls, 5 multiplied by 5. So 5 dial rate for each of those agents, right? But this is a maximum number. Automatically our system adjusts itself, goes lower if the abandon rates go higher. Okay, so usually the average abandon rate for political and nonprofits is at 3%. So in case if there are a lot of abandoned calls meaning there are people answering on the other end, but there are no agents free at your end to answer those calls and have a conversation, and automatically those calls will be dropped. And that's called the abandoned calls. So just to make sure that we are well within the limits, the dial rate gets adjusted automatically. So it balances the abandon rate. And we also have answering machine detection. So our system automatically detects answering machines and disconnects those calls. So here we assign agents. So in CallHub, you can actually run multiple campaigns at the same time. There's no restrictions on that. So let's say you have a group of agents and you want a couple of them working on campaign A and another couple working on campaign B, etc. So you could choose to assign specific agents to the campaign, or you could just choose to assign all agents to the campaign. And as soon as they log in, automatically the contacts will be assigned to them. If you wish, you could record all the calls. All calls will be recorded for you to listen to them later on. But you just need to make sure that you tell your agents to let the contacts know that the calls are being recorded. And if you check this, adding notes becomes mandatory. So the agents need to add notes and save that information before they start receiving the next calls. You hit next, and here is where you schedule the campaign, right? So you can actually go ahead and schedule the campaigns much earlier than the actual campaign date. You can set all of these up. Here you just uh, choose the campaign start date and the start time, and what's the end date of the campaign. And if you're running this over the course of multiple days, you can also specify the operational days and hours. Let's say, for example, I don't want to run this campaign over the weekend. I just uncheck Saturday and Sunday, and you just select the operational hours. Okay. And then we have something called as time zone calling. So you could either choose to run the campaign at a schedule of your own campaign time zone, or if you're calling multiple states who belong to multiple time zones, you could choose to call them on their specific time zone. So our system kind of separates the list and calls them accordingly based on their time zone where they belong to. Okay. And let me just turn this off and you hit finish. So that's it. So 4 simple steps for you to create a FastClick dialing campaign. You're completely set to go. Automatically, whenever you create a campaign in CallHub, it's always in the pause state. You can just go ahead and review the script once and make sure the script and the questions and the dispositions look fine. You can go to the settings and make sure all of the settings, the dialer rate, the abandon rate, retries, all of these is perfectly fine. And just go ahead and hit on start, and automatically the campaign begins. Now, just to give you a quick introduction about the agents over here. Now we have 2 separate agents. So one, we call them as clicker agents, where they actually go ahead and click and initiate the calls. That's how we have gotten around the TCPA. So there is no machine which is generating or initiating these calls. A clicker agent is going to click and initiate the calls. And automatically, when there is an answer on the other end, there is another subset of agents whom we call the talker agents, where the calls are connected to, and they are continuing the conversation. So let me just show you how that works. Now, this is the screen of my clicker agent. So automatically, for the first time when the campaign begins, there are contacts assigned. Over here, as you can see, I have about 5 contacts that's been assigned to me, all the contacts that are in the phone book, and I can just go ahead and initiate these calls. So all I have to do is, for the TCPA compliance, a human intervention is required. So a human is going ahead and clicking manually and initiating these particular calls. Okay. Now these calls are queued at the back end, and only when there is a talker agent available, that's when the calls are made and automatically connected. So let me just refresh this. This is the talker agent screen. So even this is pretty straightforward. You don't need to give much of training in terms of your talker agents or clicker agents. It's pretty straightforward. Once they look at it, they'll pretty much understand. Even with the talker agents, even before they join the campaign, they read the script, they know the questions that they're supposed to ask. So they're very much well prepared to join the campaign. All they have to do here is just hit on join campaign.
You are now starting the campaign.
Now it says connecting calls, and the calls that are queued are getting dialed right now. So as soon as there is an answer on the other end, there'll be a call connected over here. Okay.
Hi.
Hey, I see Amy answered the call. Thanks, Amy. So we are having a conversation with Amy right now. So with the profile that you can see over here, you will be able to see all of the information that you have imported from Action Network, and the agent knows whom they're having a conversation with. In case there has been any history of the conversation with this particular contact, I can just click on history. I'll be able to see all the previous interactions that has happened with this contact from CallHub, right? So all I have to do is just read the script, have a conversation, and see if it's yes, no, undecided. And all I just say is yes. And let's say that I've had a meaningful interaction. I just choose the disposition and I just put in my notes. And all I have to do is just hit on save. Right, so it says no more people to call, so the campaign is done. Um, so here the clicker agent will be able to see their own stats in terms of how many calls were dialed and how many were pending, how many dialed by me if you have multiple clicker agents. Yeah, so over here, you'll be, if you go to overview as a campaign manager who has set up the campaign, you'll be able to get real-time stats in terms of what is happening to your campaign. You don't have to really wait for the campaign to end to know what has happened to your campaign. So you'll understand how many contacts have been dialed. So there was one answer, 4 unanswered calls have been put to retry. First attempt is about to happen depending on the schedule. And you'll also see how many texts were sent out if the texts were sent out within the campaign. Yep. So this is the TCPA compliant dialer that we have. Happy to take the questions if you guys have any. Feel free to just drop in any questions that you guys have.
Yeah, and if y'all have questions about compliance too, I know that, all the listservs are always full of questions about this. These are the experts, so they're going to be able to answer any questions that y'all have.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. So what we can do is, Amy, obviously we are sharing the recording with everyone, I believe so, right?
Yes, the recording will be sent out to everyone. I know we have a bunch of folks on the West Coast that weren't able to join. Yes, recording will be sent out.
Awesome. So in case you guys have any questions, feel free to respond to that email. And I'll also drop in my personal email address over here in the chat window.
Oh, it looks
And
like we do have a question as well from Mitch. But do you offer the dialer independently of the SMS tools?
So this is an independent account where you have both manual peer-to-peer texting and manual FastClick account. We don't have them as 2 separate pieces because this is a compliant TCPA compliant account, Mitch. Great. So you guys have my email address. Feel free to reach out. Also, anybody who signs up, anybody who has attended this webinar today, if you guys want to go ahead and try out our platform, the new FastClick platform, we will be giving them 100 calling minutes free of cost as an introductory offer. So you guys can just use those 100 free minutes, run the campaign, test it out, see if it works for you, and then you can decide if you want to continue or not.
That's awesome. I hope a lot of y'all take him up on that and try out this platform because it is awesome. Well, thanks everyone so much. If anyone has any questions, we're happy to stay on. If not, thanks for joining us, and we'll send out a recording and Badari's contact info, and have a great rest of your day.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, everyone. Take care.
Cool. Looks like there's no more questions. CallHub folks, I will go ahead and send y'all an email. But thank you so much for hopping on today. Really appreciate y'all doing the training for us.
Thanks a lot, Amy, for organizing this for us.
Of
Really
course.
appreciate it.
Okay. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks.